we are going to be heading over to Laos, Vietnam, and the Philippines.
There we go. A sunset on the waterfall. Look at that. Okay, who did that? Come on, guys.
Once again, I got to start planning. I got to start doing visas, and I got to start packing and getting ready for these trips. And doing this process is frustrating. Sometimes anxiety gets over to you. Sometimes you just don't know what to do, or maybe you just do too much. So today I want to share with you 5 hacks that I use and I do personally when I get ready to travel abroad. So when I get there, I'm not wasting time. I'm not wasting money. And most of all, I'm just enjoying the trip as I should. So let's get into the first hack, feeling overwhelmed. When you first start looking where to travel, you're going to feel overwhelmed. If you're coming to Southeast Asia, you have so many countries to select. But which one do you go to? You only have one shot, right? So where do we go? When you get down to this, you want to pick a country that interests you. If you've been mostly into Bhutai and Buddhism and stuff like that, Thailand is the spot to go. If you've always had this mindset of like how Chinese or Kung Fu movies kind of go, you have China, you have Taiwan. If you're into anime and cartoons and digital stuff like this, Japan. If you're looking for an adventure in the countryside, you have Vietnam, Cambodia, you have Laos. Don't try to travel to 5 or 6 countries in 1 month. It never works out good. And I'll tell you why here in a moment. And when you do find what country to go to, decide where you want to go through this country. And when you are deciding where to go and what sites to see, don't overdo the reviews. Don't overread Reddit or blogs and find out what other people say. A lot of these online blogs, from personal experience, from reading what a lot of people say, what I experienced, aren't always fully accurate. A lot of complaints I hear on these sites typically have to deal with customer service or getting cheated one way or another. This is just part of traveling abroad. You're going to deal with it, but don't let that be the reason you don't want to go see something. Unless it's Holland Bay. Just skip it. And finally, once you find the country, you find the city, you find some locations you want to go, you find the season that you want, it's time to find hotels. Don't overdo it. Don't overbook it. Don't reserve anything for 2 or 3 months at a time if you've never been to the country before. If this is your first time coming to Vietnam, then get a hotel for 2 or 3 days that's near the hotel. So when you get here, you kind of see things around. You can start talking to the hotel staff, see what's going on, and start making plans later. There's always a room to rent. You're not going to be stuck on the streets if you don't book a hotel in advance. But definitely get something for the first couple days that you get here. And once you do get to that hotel, you lay down. This brings us to number 2, realistic scheduling and planning. When you get out here, you're going to want to go places. You're going to want to see things. You want to find out how you're going to get to these spots. Is it going to be by bus, a train? Is it flight? And on top of that, make sure you plan accordingly when it comes to time. If you're taking a bus, but you planned yourself a whole day in the city and the bus is 6 hours long, you're obviously going to have some issues because the ride back is going to be another 6 hours. So your entire day is going to be spent on buses. And this is where I set my own rule, where I plan 10% of my entire vacation time I plan on taking wherever that might be, to flexibility, to unexpected things, to deciding to go explore something because I found a city that's really cool. And most of all, just some extra time if I just need to stop for a while and just take an extra rest for an extra couple of days. Whatever the case is, give yourself some time. Give yourself a gap of time that you can use to allocate to just not doing anything or spending more time somewhere where you weren't expecting to stay. Now, when you do decide where to go, you got your hotels and you've kind of planned out what you want to see when you get here, you got to get the visas. So when you do start looking into this, look into it early. Find out what visas you need. Can you extend these visas? What documents are required for these visas? And where do you even go to get into this country? A lot of countries have rules for different types of visas to different type of borders. So research these before you leave. And also, you need to start applying for these online visas if that's the process you have to take. They can take up to 2 weeks sometimes to get approved. And while you're waiting for these visas, start looking into the country, look into the culture, meet some friends back home that are the same nationality, start understanding what are some of the culture norms, what are the do's, what are the don'ts. You're going to be allowed a little bit of mistakes within the culture because they understand that you're a foreigner. You don't understand their rules to the temples or their normal rules. Now, obviously, if you're sitting there driving a bike on the sidewalk running people over, don't do that. But take some time, sit down, read some blogs, watch a few YouTube videos, and learn what are some common do's and don'ts for different countries you plan on moving to. And while you're watching those videos, start packing. I strongly recommend doing a minimalistic style pack. I noticed so many people out here doing 50 to 70 liter bags. There's no reason for it. If you're coming to Southeast Asia or South America, street vendors sell everything you need. Clothes, toothpaste, shoes, jackets, whatever you need, they have it. And it's going to be like 80 or 90% cheaper than what it would be back home. And when you're done with it, donate it. And on top of that, if you decide to buy souvenirs or anything, you want to have some room to pack them, right? So you can take them back home. So leave a little room and pack minimally. Now, once you get that visa approved, you're going to know where you're going. You're going to be knowing what port you're going to be probably going into. Start looking at hotels. We've already talked about reserving some here and there. Give yourself 2 or 3 options in the areas where you're going to go, just in case if you get there, you find out it's a bad hotel, something went wrong, there was construction. Don't pay for them, don't reserve them, just have them saved so you have other options when you get there. One of the biggest issues that could happen down the way is coming here, you don't have a SIM card or you don't have access to an internet, it's 2 a.m., the hotel you went to was broken down, you need to go to another one. You can at least show the taxi driver the image of another booking hotel and he can take you there. So always have a couple backups just in case. Now, the biggest concern that comes up is budgeting. When you are budgeting to travel abroad, this is going to be a hard one because you can't really run to your friend and ask for a loan. You're going to be on your own. So determine what the cost is going to be for the month and add 50% to it. So if you're coming out here to Vietnam, it's typically between $1,000 to $1,200 a month as a tourist. Bring $1,500. And you probably won't even spend it all. But in case you decide to have an extra 5 or 10 beers or buy a couple extra souvenirs, you won't be going broke because you had that extra money for it. And also put aside some money for medical expenses or even emergency. This should be money that's not included in that $1,500. And to make sure that $1,000 to $1,500 budget that you set works, make sure you pay for the big stuff up front. Your airline tickets, your round trip tickets, your visas back and forth. Any types of traveler's insurance. Pay for this stuff while you're still back in your home country. So when you come out here, you don't have to worry about it. And finally, have backup money. This is kind of a new one in the world, but crypto is a great way to do this. Have some type of money aside that isn't your ATM card, that isn't that bank account. In case something happens, you have a means to grab it. This is kind of like your Hail Mary last resort type of money when something bad happens. If you lose your wallet out here, what do? You need to think of these situations. So have some type of backup money. So if you do run into one of these situations, you're able to find money another way. And to make sure you don't overspend that money, keep a daily budget of what you spend. You don't need to go point for point on every little thing you bought, but just keep averages. Today I spent $50. Yesterday I spent $130. Wow, I'm very much over my budget. I should probably cut down. This allows you a little self-awareness to know how much you're spending and how to stay on track so you don't go over that budget. And when we talked about your emergency fund for medical, or if you need to leave the country, if you lose your passport, you got to pay for a new one. That money, it should never be considered for your daily spending budgeting. And finally, before we get out of here, the fear of planning and overdoing it. When you decide on a country you want to visit, don't try to see the entire country in 30 days. You can always come back. There is nothing worse than going to a tour, pushing the tour guide like, let's go, go, go. I have another tour soon. Take your time. Limit what you want to see. If you're in a major city, find the top 3 to 5 tour sites that you want to go to. Go to them, enjoy them. Don't rush through all of this. You can always come back to the country another time. There's way too much to do in Asia, and you're not going to get it all done in your first visit. So allow yourself extra time. This is the 10% I talk about. If you end up going to a city you really like, now you have extra time to spend there. You end up in a city you just don't like, you can leave sooner and use that allocated time for another city. And don't try to make a schedule that's so tight that if you miss anything, it screws up everything. That's not a vacation. So plan your trip where you want to go. What cities are you going to go to? What are you going to see within these cities? How are you going to get to these cities? And how are you going to pay for this? And how much do you need? Make sure you have all these things. Get stuff going. I always advise getting things done a month or 2 in advance so you don't run into these snags. And if you do, you have plenty of time to figure them out along the way. And when you come out here, enjoy your time. Don't rush it. Don't push it. You're not going to see everything the first time around. So enjoy the moments you have and limit what you do so you can enjoy those times. If you're in the members group, ask away. I will go step by step on anything you need help with to get you ready for your trip. And with that being said, guys, I got to bag the trip. We're about to head over to Laos. So thanks for watching. I will see you again.